Hello, and welcome to the Footy Podcast. To benefit Here's Help. Here's Help is a nonprofit comprehensive rehabilitation and educational agency that's been providing treatment services in South Florida since 1968. For more information on Here's Help or Footy's podcast, you can contact us at 305-685-8201. If you need help or know someone who has a substance abuse or alcohol problem, you can call our admissions office at 305-685-8201, extension 224. If you'd like to make a cash donation to Here's Help and join the fight against drug abuse, call Footy at 305-685-8201, extension 227. Now, here's Footy.
Well, welcome aboard. Before we get the show started or the podcast started today, I'd just like to point out that Footy's chicken wing sauce is available at many fine grocers. If you can't find it in Publix, just go to the manager and they'll order it. So it's really easy. And it's, there's a magical quality to chicken wing sauce, and particularly Footy's chicken wing sauce. So you can see, look, if you just look at the continuity of the sauce is timeless. It's perfect. It holds up. If you open it up, put it in your refrigerator for a while, and you can put it on anything.
You mentioned shrimp. That sounds like I gotta try that.
Shrimp's a good thing. Pizza's not bad either if you put a little in it.
I put that stuff on, especially the hot sauce, on just about everything. It's really good.
Well, you're a hick.
Yes, I am. And every penny of your purchase goes to all the fine work being done here at Here's Help on 151st and 27th Avenue in Miami Gardens. Beautiful Miami Gardens.
Oh, excellent.
So here we are, another Footy podcast.
Yeah. Well, welcome aboard.
And they said it wouldn't last.
Who's they?
I don't know. Just messing around.
No, we have, I guess the air conditioner's out in one of our buildings, so they moved the guys over here to the art studio where they're destroying everything they can get their hands on.
Is this the school, the Dade County Public Schools that they're doing over here?
They moved over.
Okay. I see you got running the lines now over to the plumbing school, too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's amazing.
I don't think we'll ever be done. It never ends.
Right. Well, there's such a problem with shipping these days that I'm surprised you got the lumber that you needed, because there was a big shortage of that not too long ago. Yeah,
well, we're going along, and we're gaining ground. And we, believe it or not, we have I'm going to explain this. We have an organization that's going to provide teachers when we open the plumbing school.
Wow.
Yeah, so these guys will be able to go into that at that point. And it's a couple months long, but it gets you off and running.
Right. Well, if you're new to the Here's Help show, the Footy podcast and Here's Help, this is a substance abuse treatment center in Miami Gardens, and your philosophy, Footy, which has served many a young man and woman well over the years, is the replacement life. The theory being that being involved in the drug world is a full-time job, and when you kick that habit, you've got to find something to replace those man hours, sometimes days on end without sleep.
You got to do something else.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's all about getting...
You know how I did it?
How did you do it?
A girl.
How did I know? It goes back to what you were talking about many times, is about staying away from those old habits and those old friends. So something seems to, when a young man or woman seems to get into this program and try to rid themselves of that addiction, there always seems like some of the old guys, the old pals, just seem compelled to want to pull you back in, to paraphrase the movie.
Yeah, I'm glad you
What
brought
is that
up.
concept?
No, what it becomes is when you're in that life. You're in that life. That's it. And when you find a bridge out of it, you have to take that bridge seriously. Again, for my case, I was How can I explain it to a normal person?
Well, I'm not normal, so.
You're not in this group. Anyway, so I went from the so-called program. Well, I went from jail to the so-called program. And
in chains, from what I understand.
Huh?
In chains, from what I understand.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was the hospital was a county hospital, and the jail was right next door.
Uh-huh.
And, the jail's in one of the pictures in a movie with what's his name. It's about the stealing a diamond or whatever. But they were shooting the picture while I was in there. I was like, hey, how you? But anyway, you have to find a new life. You can't just. I mean, some people just stop. Good for them. Well, you got to stop and find a different life. When I was allowed out, okay. That's when I had to make those kinds of decisions, because I was like, well, you going to the corner, or where are you going?
Mm-hmm.
And I found a place to go.
Right.
And it was a girl, and which was fine by me.
Mm-hmm.
But, more than anything else, she's still a social worker today, but she understood the process of what I was going through, and she accompanied that process. She used to go when I had to report in. She used to go with me. She did a lot of things. But you know what the funny thing was? She goes to show you. I was getting straightened out, job, school. I had all the things going. Her. Well, at some point, she and her friend, I won't give her last name, her name was Alice, decided they were going to go to California. The hippie days and all that nonsense. And I told her it was all nonsense. You go
peace and love.
You're going to go and shake a tambourine. Ooh, there you go. Now you're on the brink.
Right.
But anyway, but she stayed with me, and but this other girl, talked her into going to California. And they went to California. And I believe there was 2 other guys in the car, but whatever. They went to California. Well, when she got back, okay, her mother was a wreck. She thought she was in,
the Manson cult or something.
Yeah, something. She just was. She didn't, and you know what it was? I was like sort of. How can I explain this? I was sort of a peripheral person.
Mm-hmm.
The mother wasn't too crazy about me. Well, let's put it this way. Nobody was too crazy about me at that time. But I was getting better. I was going to I had worked my way into school. I went to college. And anyway, until I went to the class one day or night, and this guy I knew, his name was Hopkins, he was in prison. And they let him out, and he got to go to school. He finished his time, whatever it was. He walked into the class, and I went, oh, God, no. Hopkins is here. And I was like, Jesus, what is he? And you know what was funny about it? He immediately went to the bathroom. Can I go to the bathroom? Bad sign.
Right, red flag.
So did somebody go see where Mr. Hopkins is? I went, I'll go. And I went, and sure enough, he was already in the toilet. In the bathroom, they have the urinals in the toilet. Well, he was injecting drugs in the.
Wow.
And I said, Hopkins, you're out of prison. It's 15 minutes. They let you out to go to school, whatever. I don't know how he got out. And he eventually died. He killed himself. But but what was funny was the teacher and the personnel in the college they had no idea what was going on. I wouldn't know, God, Hopkins is going to the bathroom. This is going to be good.
Right.
So, but anyway, you have to build that life.
Mm-hmm.
But with the girl, when she got back from California, and her mother, I was always kind of shaky. Like mother wasn't crazy about me.
Mm-hmm.
And but now her mother was in dire need of me, because the daughter came back. She searched her suitcase or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
She found all the pills and the weed and all the other stuff that she had.
Mm.
So she calls me
Wow.
to come and be the expert.
Funny how things change.
Well,
huh?
but it was true. I mean, that wasn't my world to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just it was the hippie days. I get to the house. She's fighting with the mother, who's having a complete nervous breakdown because she found this stuff in her suitcase and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And now I walk in the door, and I used to be like borderline at best.
Mm-hmm.
Now I was the avenging angel. It was like, can you help me? What do you?
Right.
So I said, well, let me see what you got there.
Mm-hmm. I'll just take that.
No,
I know. I'm kidding.
that wasn't. How can I explain it to you? I was more of a pharmaceutical.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I never smoked weed in my life. Thought it was the dumbest thing on earth, and I didn't take barbiturates or any of that kind of stuff. I mean, I had, but I didn't. Anyway, so now I was the one to save her.
So you were able to pay her back for helping you.
Well, yeah, but it was shaky at best.
Mm-hmm.
She had gone with people. She came back a different kind of person.
Yeah.
And no, but she went and lived in California. She lives there to this day. I talk to her, still talk to her once every couple of weeks. She was born a social worker, you know. So she recaptured that life. She moved to California, and she married a guy that was marginally handicapped. But that was her. She was would bring home the three-legged dog. Mm-hmm. She would always,
Mm-hmm.
she was doing. So anyway, she stayed out there. Well, she went back out there and got a job and stayed out there. She went to graduate school, you know,
Mm-hmm.
she did, and had a kid, I think maybe two, and I talked to her from, going back to those days, because it was such a. The one thing though is this was interesting. I was never. How can I explain it? My brother and I, we knew exactly what we wanted, we knew where to get it, we knew how to get it, we knew when to get it, and so we weren't like, whatever they had at the party Saturday night, we weren't in that category.
Mm-hmm.
We knew exactly what we wanted, and we knew exactly where to get it, and we knew exactly how to get it. I used to be able to write in Latin.
Wow. Fill out prescription blanks?
Yeah, to fill out prescription. I couldn't remember one thing now, but...
Right, go to a doctor on some trumped-up thing, and while you're sitting in the room, just pull the old prescription. Can you believe they used to just leave prescription
pads? They lived
pads
in the drawers. Trust me, I was in those drawers as quick as I could get there.
Right.
And but you're right, that was an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah.
And
that changed after a while.
But what happened is, well, you know why it changed?
Yeah, because of guys like you.
No. With me, there wasn't going to be any problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew exactly where to get it. And I wasn't going to ravage the drawer.
Right, well, yeah.
So I didn't want to spoil the goose.
Right, pull a couple of, just rip a couple off the pad.
Yeah. So anyway, so I went through that process with her. I remember sitting there going, at her house with her mother, saying to myself, they're fighting and screaming over each other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I didn't do anything this time. And it was really kind of it was an interesting phenomenon.
Very ironic.
The mother, who I was borderline at best with the mother, the mother now was begging me to help her. See, I didn't go to California. I wasn't in on any of that.
Right. That wasn't your scene.
Yeah, you know what, to be honest with you, it looked stupid to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, what are you... You're going to wear all those silly clothes and walk around? I mean, what's your point here?
Yeah.
But, and I had enough business where I was.
Mm-hmm.
But now I was straightened out. I was going to school. I just stayed away from everybody, and except my brother, who found me. I didn't want him to find me, but he found. But anyway... So she came back, and it's like all the roles were reversed.
All right. Mm-hmm.
You know, everything was reversed.
That's funny.
And it was like, wait a minute, I'm the good guy now. How did this happen?
This is a new experience.
Yeah, but I was also, not only was I had gotten into school, but I was with Dr. Sears. I was in a very rigid treatment program, and it was also a very early stage program. They were very...
there weren't too many recovery places in those days.
No, there wasn't many at all.
Yeah.
But I got into one that was in the county I lived, and I was one of what they called the original 7. I was in there. And it was good. It was a really good environment because Dr. Sears was the world's greatest person to me. You couldn't, if you said something to or about her, to any of us, you would be a very unhappy person because we worshipped her.
Right.
Because she knew and she cared and she was, you know, she knew how to do the right things.
And in those days, running into somebody with that mentality was non-existent. I mean, the whole concept in the 60s was, you know, you're an addict because you want to be, and why should you belong in jail?
Well, I was just going to say, jail was usually where they sent us.
Well, you know, thinking about this, do you think, obviously your experiences with Dr. Sears and your experiences in recovery had a great impact on you, but do you think realizing that you could actually help this friend overcome her substance issues, do you think that may have influenced Here's Help?
Well, once she came back from California, she was still, but it went away quick.
Yeah.
And she went to school, she got a job. That wasn't her primary thing. That was a sort of an incidental thing. Right. And I think it also came along because of the other girls she went with. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, maybe when you said, wait a minute, I can take what I've learned in my recovery and help other people. It's interesting. You've never told me that part of the story. We covered that story many times. But that's interesting. Then
she had a very good friend who moved to like Delaware or somewhere, and her and I went and visited the other girl that lived there. And where was it? They were in Pennsylvania. I don't know where they were. So she invited us. Me and my girlfriend, the other girl, she invited us to go to a party, like that Friday night, Saturday night, whatever it was. And I was not big on parties at that point. I was trying to avoid the parties.
Yeah, it wasn't a really good place for a recovering person to be.
Well, but I was pretty solid by that point. Yeah. And we go to the party. And to me, it was like being in a kindergarten class. You know, it's like, you're kidding.
Right.
But I kept my mouth shut. because she told me keep your mouth shut. No, but I was not a tar. I wasn't telling you anything.
Right.
You know, if you asked me what size my shoe was, I would go large.
Yeah.
You know,
Large.
I won't give me any specifics. So anyway, we go to this party, and it's in the basement of a house. You know, split level house. But anyway, I'm like, I get to the basement of this party. We stayed a couple days, and it was like, how can I explain this? It was like being on space travel. You know, I'd never seen anything like this. I didn't know anybody, you know, especially intimately. I didn't know anybody who was...
attending the party.
No, who was straight and normal. I didn't know any people. I didn't know anybody who was.
So this was a legit party.
Yeah. Well, it was like watching what was the Father Knows Best or whatever his name. I didn't know this. They didn't have these kind of parties where I live. So no, but I kept my mouth shut, and we stayed, and we went. And you know what they did? This was crazy. One night at the party, and I guess we stayed 2 nights because it was for a weekend. And I was really never allowed out of the neighborhood for that period of time. I had to get back where they could see me. But anyway, we went to a diner. Or they went to a diner and took us. And they got like French toast. And I said, wait a second, this is like America here. These are normal, real people.
It really does exist.
Yeah.
Not only on TV.
Yeah. What time's the show start? Yeah. And but we went back, and you know what happened to her?
What?
Nah. In 9/11.
Oh, no way.
She worked in the building.
Wow, that's terrible.
And my cousin Mickey was in there too.
Yeah.
But he. Nothing could kill Mickey.
Right.
He's impervious to death.
A lot of your friends from those days seem to be impervious to death. I guess they've had a lot of practice.
Well, Mickey was he's still got a lot of problems.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But he pulls. But he was in the building. He was a fireman at that time.
Oh wow.
He was a bus driver. He always got city jobs because his father was big with the unions, and anyway, so they sent him up. Okay, he went up like 10 floors, whatever, and came back down and said, "Are you crazy?" They said, "You go up here, you go up there and find anybody that's up there." And he went with his crew, and Mickey's not exactly like a workout artist, you know. He's not a big guy. So he went in, and he went up the stairs. People were coming down and screaming and crying, and he was going up. And he got up there, and the building fell down.
Wow.
He was trapped in the building. They found him like for 2 days later.
Amazing.
You know what he did? He was in the rubble. Now, you got to remember, when that building collapsed, all that concrete and all those wires,
steel
and all
beams.
yeah, that's all. It's coming down. And he was buried, and he picked and clawed and found his way. He was with guys that were trapped up to their neck. They basically sitting there watching them die because it was not. They get crushed to death. So he somehow or another, like I think it was overnight, he clawed his way to a chasm, and he stuck his hand through the rubble and the dirt.
Wow.
And somebody spotted his hand. And they went, oh. So what people don't realize, because I visited this scene with him, is they were lost. There was no door to open or anything. Somebody the next morning saw the hand and went, and I guess firemen and whatever, they dug the hand out and got my cousin Mickey out.
Wow.
And that's what how he survived. He's still alive.
It's incredible.
which is really an incredible thing.
Yeah, a lot of incredible.
That he's alive.
A lot of incredible stories about survival and heroism during those days.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. This is after 9/11, you know, and I guess the Dolphins invited some of the firemen to come to the game. And Mickey says, "Yeah, I'm gonna." Well, I went and met him up at that hotel in Fort Lauderdale. He wasn't even inside; he was outside smoking. I'm like, "Mickey, you're the guest of honor. Why didn't you go in the wave or something? Tell him you know Rob De Niro." Because he did. He knew all the big famous people because he used to tour with them and explain things to him. Then when my son was in the Coast Guard Academy, he went up there. They immediately treated him like he was the Sheikh of Arabi. But anyway, so he got out, and now they were bringing him down. So I go to the hotel. I forget what it was called. The big hotel. It's derelict now. But anyway, I can't find Mickey. I said, "You're the guest of honor. What are you doing?" So he was outside. He would only drink his own coffee. Like, in other words, if you went to give him a cup of coffee, he's not drinking that. He's drinking his coffee. And that's what he is. He's like a creature of habit. But anyway, I find him sitting out in where they park the cars. I go, "Mickey, what are you doing?" "I'm just having some coffee and a cigarette here before." I said, "You realize you're the guest of honor here, right?" Yeah, I'll come in later. Yeah. Anyway, so I finally got him in, and the people were crazy. And then the Dolphins gave him tickets to the game. Probably Dan gave them to him when we were there. Because Dan met him, spent an afternoon with him. I was like, "You're kidding. This is
classic.
Yeah, this is going to be good, right?" So Mickey, they were going to get in the stadium beforehand, and they all had their little, and they didn't want anybody carrying anything. Well, these guys had like suitcases, and they were like, "Look at my suitcase." Yeah. So they got in, and he went, and they waved and did all that they were going to do, and it was Dan. Dan was like, finally he said, "This your cousin, right?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, I can see." So anyway, so he got out, and then he went back, and they basically, for quite a while, he was on the tour with Robert De Niro and with Al Pacino and this one. Oh yeah,
wow.
The governor, the president, anybody. Right after that.
Yeah, that's true.
And then he was a survivor of 9/11. It's like he was like, sacred almost.
And probably baffled by all the attention.
Yeah, he had absolutely no. He was wait.
Yeah. Just doing my job.
They would tell him what to do, and he would go like, "What, me now?" He didn't really.
Who, me?
Yeah. and you know what he did when he was in the firehouse, and the alarm went off. So they came out in the fire truck, and they went to the first fire hydrant that they could attach to. Well, it wasn't even near the thing. They said, "No, you got to go down there." Oh, okay. Down there, you mean over there where all the rubble and stuff? Yeah. If you knew him, you'd appreciate it, because he's just like a natural character. They should make a movie about him. I think they did, but it was quite a time, quite an experience.
I've always.
I went to the memorial with him.
Oh wow, that must have been.
Yeah, after it was repaired, partially reconstructed, and the people, first the lines to get in there. It's almost a religious thing to people.
Yeah.
And people would wait in line. We never waited in line.
I'll bet.
He would get the head guy would come down. I could see he was annoyed, but they had to take care of Mickey.
Yeah.
So they took us all in. My brother was with me, and a couple of my brothers, and we all went. And you know what he did?
Right.
He went and sat like in the ante-lobby.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what he had?
Right.
The thermos of coffee. And he's just sitting there. No, and people would come up to him like they were meeting Moses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was real.
Yeah.
You know, and I would be like, you mean my cousin Mickey?
Right. Yeah.
So,
Well, there were incredible acts of bravery on that day from guys like me.
well, you know, that's a good point. He wasn't an act of bravery. He was trying. He was like, wait, I ain't going in there. Are you crazy?
Mm-hmm.
You people crazy? But they get your suit on, Cross. You're going in.
Yeah.
And he went in, and he didn't come out for a couple of days.
Yeah,
And finally
crazy.
got out.
You know, I've covered more than my share of tragedies on the air, tragedies that have occurred while I was on the air. The Boston bombing happened right in front of my eyes while we were doing a talk show. The shooting at
Yeah,
Parkland.
that was really that little adventure. I was on the air with that too.
Yeah, and
That little adventure there was like, what is going on here?
yeah, those are tough to cover, but I've always been grateful. If I was ever grateful for being out of a job, 9/11 was the day I was so glad that I was not on the air that day, because I just am grateful that I didn't have to cover that event live on the air. That would have been pretty difficult to do.
We knew that there was part 2 coming,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew my cousin was somewhere in the mess.
Wow.
You know, because I know a lot of his firemen, and
Yeah.
it's like they're like one big family.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and then we took him. My son Nick was in the Coast Guard Academy. So my brother, the general,
Mm-hmm.
he was coming down to, and I took my cousin Mickey with me up there in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
And how can I explain? He's just a very odd, not bad odd, but
Right.
just an odd character. In other words, like, we were at the Coast Guard Academy. No, I'll drink my own coffee, never mind, thank you. And he's just that way.
He's got that thermos.
Yeah, but he went.
Mm-hmm.
And the commandant of the Coast Guard Academy, when he found out that Mickey was there, you would think that Moses walked in the room. He stopped the whole thing, tears in his eyes,
Wow.
and it's like in an auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my brother Walter told him who Mickey was. So they had a standing ovation,
Crazy.
and he's standing there like, who are they clapping for?
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Who's he talking
Well, he
about?
would call me Buddy. He'd say,
Buddy.
Buddy, who are they all clapping for you? I go, Mickey, it's you. Me? For what?
Right.
A building fell on me.
Right.
That's a big prize. But no, we ate, and you know, we had a grandmother, both Mickey and me and my other brothers, and she lived in Norwich, Connecticut, not far from the Coast Guard Academy.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were there, we all got in the car and we drove up to the old farm, and nothing changed.
Wow.
I mean, it was like, you're kidding. You couldn't put in a new bridge? I mean, really. But the town is called Norwich, or Norwich.
Mm-hmm.
But they call it Norwich. But nothing happens there.
Right.
There was a mill, a textile or whatever. There was some kind of mill there.
Mm-hmm.
But they shut that down like in the 20s, and it's never been opened up since. And when you go there, there's a lot of New England. You see a lot of odd things.
I've heard a lot of strange things about Connecticut.
Yeah. And we went through it. You know what my grandmother was? Well, she lived at the farm. But eventually she moved into town. My father moved into town. And because she was out in the middle of nowhere, there's a farm. And we used to stay like for 2 weeks in the summer, outhouses, chickens. I mean, it was like me and my brother, we were from the Bronx. We were like, what is this here, the zoo?
Yeah.
So anyway, he moved her into town. So she befriended a Chinese woman. And she was studying like Cantonese.
Oh, man.
She spoke like 9 languages.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, she was my grandmother, that grandmother, she was an interpreter, a linguist interpreter for the Canadian, I guess whatever you would call them, the Canadian government. And that's how she actually eventually made it into the country.
Wow.
That's how she got in.
Amazing.
And she would go there every day and sit with the Chinese lady who was like her, 100 years old, and studying the Cantonese or whatever.
Mandarin or something. Yeah, and I've heard.
And she used to sit there and the two of them would be speaking Chinese.
I've heard of all the languages in the world, those are the hardest to learn. Didn't give her a problem, huh?
Well, she also was already multilingual.
Right.
So to her it was all one big thing. Either that or she just was completely senile and crazy. And
just talking gibberish.
Yeah, could have been.
The other woman was like taking the check. Yeah, hey, you're doing great. Yeah,
no,
see you Tuesday.
They were big buddies.
I know, I'm just making a joke. Well, folks, we want to thank you for watching the Footy Podcast and all your support, all your comments, and it's very flattering. And we try to put up a new podcast every week, and within minutes of loading a podcast, we start getting views. So that's very nice. It means that you're clicking on the bell, you're being notified that there's a new podcast, and you're checking it out, and that's great. And we really, really appreciate that. Make sure you leave us a comment. We love reading your comments, and share our podcast with others, and share them on social media if you would as well. Make sure you pick up Footy wing sauce and Footy hot sauce at your local grocer, and that'll be a great, easy way for you to support.
And go to Publix and demand that they have it
in a nice way.
Have you been introduced to Footy sauce? Footy sauce makes it easy to give ordinary chicken wings extraordinary flavor. Footy wing sauce is made with a perfect blend of herbs and spices. So what are you waiting for? Pour it on. Footy's wing sauce guarantees you a better taste than chicken wing every single time. When you fire up the grill, pour it on. Let Footy be your wingman. Kick your next party up a notch with Footy sauce. Grab Footy's wing sauce and pour it on.
But it'll go towards helping all the great work going on here at the Here's Help campus on 151st and 27th Avenue in Miami Gardens. As you mentioned, Dade County Public School here. A lot of these young men never finished high school, got kicked out of school for whatever reason. So the first step here is for those who don't have a high school diploma to get their high school diploma, finish their education. We have in this building the podcast studio, the School of Music, the art class that you mentioned, computer lab, building a plumbing school. It's all about a replacement life and finding a trade, finding a job off campus.
And/or education.
And the education. There's an off-campus automotive class. We spoke to one of the guys who's in charge of the automotive class a few weeks ago, and that's a really great program. And also off-campus programs for women. So there's a lot of different things going on here. The plumbing school is almost finished. And we urge you to go to here'shelpinc.com and find out more, especially if you have someone in your family or a loved one, a friend who has substance abuse issues, maybe even you. There's a lot of great things going on here at the Here's Help campus, and you've helped an awful lot of people over the years. Thanks again for watching the podcast. Thanks for all your support, and we'll have another Footy podcast coming up real soon.
Thank you for listening to the Footy Podcast. To benefit, Here's Help. For more information about the Footy Podcast or Here's Help, contact us at 305-685-8201. If you need help or know someone who has a substance abuse or alcohol problem, you can call our admissions office at 305-685-8201, extension 224. If you'd like to make a cash donation, to Here's Help and join the fight against drug abuse. Call Footy at 305-685-8201, extension 227. The executive producer of the Footy podcast is Sam Zacco, COO of Here's Help.